Welcome to Navigating Life After 40, the podcast that's all about helping women navigate this exciting and sometimes challenging phase of life. I'm your host, Roni J, and I'll be here sharing some of my own personal experiences, chatting with experts and a few friends, and also providing some practical advice and support to help you live your best life after 40. Let's get started.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Navigating Life After 40. I am your host, Roni, and I am here today with Kendall. She is a podcast host of Mom's True Tea podcast. How are you doing today, Kendall?
I am doing amazing. How are you, Roni?
I'm doing good, despite, struggle a little bit on the struggle bus, but I'm doing good. I'm blessed. I cannot complain. I know. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know I have tuned in and I have listened, and I listen when I'm walking in the morning. So I was like, let me start incorporating, getting as close to the 10,000 steps as possible. So I get up in the morning, and when I'm walking, I'm listening. And when I tell you, your show is so good. You did one episode. Yes, you are so welcome. You did this one episode where you were talking to the moms about their sons.
Yeah.
And basically, your sons are not your man, baby. And listen, that hit home because I have dated so many men who treat their moms treat them that way. And so I was like, yes. And I know people are probably driving by like, what is that lady doing? But I kept throwing my hands up in there like, yes, girl, you are preaching. So tell us about your podcast and where the listeners can tune in.
Yeah, so my podcast, as you said, is Mom's True Tea, and it's MUMS True Tea with the play on the word mom, because it means it's like mom's the word, one who acts remains silent. And I think moms are always active and we're always taking action, and it's least celebrated, and we don't talk about it, we just do it. So I use the play on that word instead of the traditional mom, M-O-M. And my podcast is about being authentic, unapologetically about motherhood, because everybody's experience isn't as joyous as society has proclaimed and forced the women to think that they're less than if they're not moms. So based on my experience, having two sons, I was a single mom. My children are adults, they're 28 and 33. I've experienced so much with them that I felt the need to actually express to women that it's okay to feel like you're not okay as a mom. So I wanted to create this space and community for moms to feel safe and to have conversations, or at least hear somebody's perspective, because a lot of women think they're crazy, and they think that these feelings of, I love my children, but I don't necessarily enjoy motherhood, they would never say it out loud. So I'm here to say the quiet parts out loud about all of those taboo topics as it relates to motherhood. And you can find me on all your socials, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Mom's True Tea, and I have YouTube as well.
Nice. Thank you for sharing it. I do notice that you are a voice for moms. And so, because I know I've had conversations with friends and things like that. And while I'm not a mother, I call myself like a mom tea, because my nieces and nephews, think I'm their mom a little bit. But I do hear, conversations with friends and things like that. And some of them have that guilt. And I know I have directed a few of them to your show. So it's like, tune in.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Tune in, because I feel like you are a voice for the moms who, like you said, have that guilt, and they really like, I feel this way, but I don't want to say it out loud because I will appear as a bad person to society or to other people. But having someone that they can listen to and they can relate to, I think is really helpful. So thank you for creating that space for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really for me too.
Yeah. Healing. Yeah.
So but thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, y'all. Y'all typically ask me about my glasses, and while I do not know the name of these, I will tell you where I got them from. I got them from zlul.com, and the link will be posted below, and you can use the code NAVIGATE to save 15% off your glasses. They always have like really cute glasses, so wanted to
Love
drop
you.
that in. Yeah, me too. Me too. I got so many pair of glasses, child. I just grab one and be like, I just go with this one today. So
The pairs of glasses there in my drawer and everywhere. And Zulu is definitely one of my top suppliers.
yes, 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 love that. All right, y'all. So we are going to be talking today, Kendall and we are going to be talking about navigating friendships in midlife. I have heard so many women talk about the challenges with
Mhm.
making friends during this time, having to end relationships during this time, like friendships. And of course, as we get older, friendships begin to fall off and
Mhm.
things like that. So when I met Kendall in a group, we're both in this Facebook group together, and she shared what she did, I was like, oh, I got to connect with her. And so we talked about what we wanted to kind of focus on for this episode, and we both landed on friendships because that is very, very important. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything, be sure to leave them in the chat for us on Instagram, Facebook, whenever this episode is uploaded, also on YouTube, and we will answer those questions, or I'll answer them, and I'll tag Kendall as well if there's something that I cannot answer, but I will do my best. So, all right, girl,
Let's get into it.
let's get into it. So, let me hear from you. Why do you feel that friendships, as we enter this phase of life, right? Why do
Mhm.
you think friendships change? What is the challenge what's happening? What do you think is happening
Mhm.
during this time period?
That's not a linear question, or I don't have
Mm-hmm.
a linear answer. So first I'll start by saying I'm 51 years old, right? So friendships have always been kind of touch and go for me. Like, I'm a very committed friend. I'm a very loyal friend. I'm dependable
Me too.
and I'm very reciprocal. However, my experience has not been the same in return, and for
Yeah.
diverse real reasons. So, to your point, and asking me why do we think it's changed, I'm going to be completely honest. I think it has a lot to do with some insecurities of other women, to be completely
Mm-hmm.
honest, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't register with me how you could be friends with someone for many, many years and that dynamic change. At least you don't have a conversation about it. And I feel like a lot of women also lack maturity to have conversations as to why they need to detach from a friendship, or they need some space back from a friendship, or why it may be changing, because we all evolve and we all grow. But I feel like the messaging around this, oh, I just walk away and it's because I'm growing. It's very toxic. It's very toxic. And then what you do is when you just walk away from people or detach yourself from people or ghost, because that's the term too,
Yeah.
without being mature enough to have a conversation, that to me, it reads, you never really had the same love for me that I had for you. And you definitely lack the maturity and the growth to be able to have those type of conversations, to say, hey, I may need to fall back a little bit, or you know what, the dynamic of our relationship is changing because maybe I have so many things going on. I
Right.
can't manage or juggle our friendship in addition to all of those things right now. It's not that I don't love you. I just
Right.
need some time to figure out what I got going on. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot. And then you just leave a person with all these unanswered questions. And then what if you're somebody who struggles with abandonment, like me? My father
Yes.
abandoned me. So now you're re-triggering that abandonment that I've experienced in the past by detaching yourself and not having a conversation with me as to what.
Right. And they know, especially if they've been your friend for a very long time, they know a lot
That
about
part.
you and know,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, their father wasn't there, so this
Mm-hmm.
is an issue for them. So why can I not respect this person enough if I claim that I care about them to
That's
have
right.
this conversation? I feel the same way. We have very similar when you talked about the loyalty and being
Mm-hmm.
trustworthy and stuff. And it made me think about a post that I saw when you mentioned this, that the people who are the most loyal and trustworthy and dependable, they're the ones that are easily hurt.
All the time.
We do not get that same thing in return. And I always wonder why. What is the problem? Is it like we have a target on us and people are like, oh, I want to be their friend because they're going to treat me good. Sometimes I think like that because I had a recent situation myself with a friend and I said, you know what? I've been friends with this person for over 20 years. That's
Mm-hmm.
a long time.
That's a long time.
And I said, what I do for this person, they don't do for me. And I've had those
Mm-hmm.
conversations with them before and said, I notice when I'm going through these things, you're not there for me the same way that I
Mm-hmm.
am for you. And I would
Mm-hmm.
appreciate if you could,
Mm-hmm.
reciprocate, do that same thing for me in
Absolutely.
return. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it for a few weeks and then they stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, you know
Interesting.
what? Let me just no longer talk to them about these type of things. It's like
Mhm.
I'm making the adjustments for the friendship rather than it
Right. And
being the
that's
other
not
way around.
fair. And
Exactly.
that's not fair.
Exactly.
But people like yourself and I, if we are aligned the way I assume we are, we're always
Mm-hmm.
making adjustments. But
Yep.
to your point, when you say, why does this always happen to us? Is there a target? It's not a target, it's a light. And
Mm,
people are drawn to that light.
yeah.
However, when it starts to reveal their shadows or their insecurities, they no longer want to be in that light. But they're going to
Yeah.
always make it about you, and they're never going to take accountability for themselves. Similar to yourself, I was very close to someone. I consider this person a sister,
Mm-hmm.
and we've always been each other's company. But similar to yourself, I've always shown up for this person when I recount it far more than they've shown up for me. Like they had children, and because they were young mothers, she was dealing with postpartum and so forth like that. And I was trying to support her on that journey. I would hop in the car with my husband and I, and we would go drive almost 5 hours away to go make sure, like, let's go check on her, make sure she's good, take her to the spa, just go hang out with her. But I went through two very traumatic things in 2022. One was my younger son was in a very tragic car accident. He has
Sorry to hear
disabilities
that.
as a result of that. Thank you very much. He's much better now, but he does have disabilities as a result of it. This person never showed up. One phone
Wow.
call just to check in. During that time, also, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. This person
Mm.
doesn't work, not on a traditional 9 to 5. They have plenty of freedom where they could have been like, hey, let me come and take you out to lunch, or I'm going to come and sit at chemo with you. Or if that was too much for them, just, hey, how are you feeling? Let's go hang out. Let me take you to lunch, dinner, whatever on your non-chemo days. This person never showed up for me. They never showed
Wow.
up for me. And then we took a girls trip last year that I was excited about. Myself, that person, and two other young ladies. We had a good time. At least that was the feedback that I received during the time. And this person came back to me. She gave me a call and she's like, oh, I wanted to talk to you about something. And I'm like, sure, go ahead. No problem. And she said, well, you were having some conversations that made me uncomfortable because I have white friends and white family. Because I talk about history. I'm always
Yeah.
trying to inform other people. A conversation derived and someone asked my opinion and I gave them factual information, not just
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. But she was very offended and she felt uncomfortable because she had white people in her family and white friends that I was having that conversation around slavery or CRT and what's happening around the
Yeah.
world. And then she told me I lacked empathy.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, because I'm grown, I'm willing to take accountability. So I'm like, tell me when I lacked accountability. Like, when have I ever been non-empathetic with you or lacked empathy? I'm not going to get into that right now. That was her response to me. And I'm like, but you brought it up. But the reason
Can't
why
give you an answer.
she couldn't give me an answer because she know that wasn't factual. What I took away from that, because we haven't spoken in over a year now, she never came back to have a conversation with me about it. She went on a podcast and had a conversation and had already talked to other people prior to talking to me. And that's why I said all that to say that's where that lack of maturity comes from. And some people have to make you the villain in their story in order
Yes.
for them to move how they want to move, because they're not mature enough or secure enough to have a conversation. Now, she probably feels like she had a conversation with you, but
Yeah.
as your sister, and if you and I have never had any type of confrontation, argument,
Right.
crosswords, and you come to me with this and it takes me aback. And my response to her was, the difference between people like yourself and myself, we know who we are. And a lot of times people that are around us are trying to figure out who they are.
Who
And
they
that's what
are.
I told her. And she was very offended, although she had said all the things that she said to me. Me saying that one statement was what she took offense to. And she
Feels
never
like she
tried.
was looking for like a reason
She was
to
looking for a
exit
reason.
the friendship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she could have just been woman enough. She wouldn't, either way, she would have no reason, right?
Yeah.
No logical or valid reason. But as I processed it, because when friendships end, there's a healing process that needs to take place, especially when you're close to someone. And it was almost like mourning. And I struggled, and I was in mourning over that relationship for a good 6 to 8 months. But when I started to take away the emotional part of it and really look at the situation, she was looking for a reason to detach herself. And she used excuses. And then, of course, she went to go have conversations with other people to make me the villain in her story. But she never circled back to come back and have a conversation with me. And one thing about me is I'm loyal to a fault. But once you show
Say
me
that all
who
the
you
time.
are,
Yeah.
that's what I believe. And this person, that because sometimes you can repair relationships, right? But the way this person moved, I'm not interested in ever having any type of reconciliation
I don't
with
blame you
her.
because I wouldn't either. And as you were just talking, it made me think about back in 2020 and 2021, how this same friend that I mentioned of 20 years, I had a lot of death, a lot of loss
I'm sorry.
in my family. Thank you. And so I remember calling her and she goes, I'm going to call you back. I'm going to call you back. And she never called me back. And this was the first situation where we almost lost my brother. And I called her, and then a week and a half, I lost my grandmother after that. Called her, no response back, nothing. 4 months after that, I lose my dad. I lose my place to live because of a fire. And I'm just thinking, like, you see this stuff. Like, you're
Where's my
connected to
friend?
my family. Yeah, you're connected to my family. You haven't called me, but you're connected to my family. And you see them posting on social media, like usually they'll post, how people post rest in peace, dad, and they'll give their story. I'm not one of those big people, but you see that. Not a phone call, not a text, nothing. You have been around my family. So that hurt me so much during that time. And what's crazy is now the tables have turned. And she's facing a situation where she could potentially be losing her mother. And now it's reaching out to me for resources and reaching out to me for, can you connect me with this person? And she made this comment because I was like, you know what? I love her mom. I like her mom. I'm going to do this one thing for her mom. After that, she made this comment that's made me say, you know what? If you do not let this go, you better. And that comment was, you keep people around for what you need to get from them.
Oh, she said that out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have to believe her and take her
I
word for
believe her.
exactly what
I
she
took the
said.
word, yes. And I said, you know what? I'm done.
Mm,
Like, I can't do this.
good
And
to
I
know.
did let her know. I said, I need to have a conversation with you.
Mhm,
And I know that she's not, we talked about being mature enough to have the conversation. But I
mhm,
said, I need to have a conversation with you. But what I decided to do was, I'm going to send this in text format because I wanted
mhm.
to talk face to face. But I decided to do it over text because I said, I don't want anything that I say to be misconstrued
Valid
because
point.
I know you. I
You
know
know that
you.
person, and you
Yeah,
know she's not going to take back what's happened, even if it's
exactly.
accountability on your part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because also, because of the light that we have, again, I say it's not a target, it's the light. And not only that, people are drawn to us. They are
Yeah.
drawn to people like us. But it's something about once they get into your space and they see how you're navigating or you're resilient or,
Yeah.
how the hell did she handle this? And she got knocked down and and
Mm-hmm.
she's still standing. And a lot of people, you
Mm-hmm.
have to be careful because some people, they're jealous of your resilience. They're jealous of your strength. And
Yes.
unfortunately, it's always the people that we love the absolute most that display this
Yes.
behavior. So we have to be accountable for, are we going to continue to allow those type of people into our space once they show you who they are? And then also, how do we navigate away from that? Because we
Mm-hmm.
have to take responsibility when we continue
Mm-hmm.
to stay in non-reciprocal relationships. And
Yes.
sometimes we don't because we want to hang on to these people because you've known them 20 years.
All
Oh,
them 20
because this
years.
person is
Remembering
your
the good
sister.
times.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
all other pictures are coming up that will show you
Mm-hmm.
memories. But then you start also pay attention to those pictures because it's going to show you where you were
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to where that person was. It's going to show
Mm-hmm.
you, oh, wait, I was always somewhere for this person. But that may not be the case if you look at the photos and see where you are. You're always in their space versus them being there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Oh my God, that's so true. And what comes to mind is like that quality over quantity of
Quality over
friendships.
quantity. And the older
And
you get,
the
the
older you
smaller
get, the
it's
smaller
going to,
that circle
the
gets,
smaller
and
your
you
circle.
really value what's important. And I
Absolutely.
know for me, that is something that I have looked for. Like, who are the people, and I pay attention to that now. Like, people that are
Mm-hmm.
around me, I really even pray and ask God for wisdom and discernment. So I'll know how to
Mm-hmm.
move. And if this
And
person is
alignment.
for me, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
they're not for me, then God move
Be
them out the
prepared
way,
though.
prepared. Yeah, because it'll happen because I've done that before. And in 3 days, I was like, what? And right now, you are right. Be prepared because you will get what you pray for. Um, but I know that's one of the things I've been really focused on is like quality. Like, be the friend. I know the type of friend that I am, and I tell
Right.
myself and to other people, and that is what I want in return. And I don't
Absolutely.
want to be that person where somebody's always withdrawing from me, but they're not depositing anything back.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And in that case, sometimes I feel like, so to that point, I feel like it's okay for us to remove ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But I still feel like you have a conversation. Again, I had another friend, I
Hmm.
relocated from Florida to Atlanta, and we have been friends for a while. She had no children. I was a single mom with two boys. She was around during that time. She's seen my challenges and then she's seen my successes. And when I moved here, I was going to school, I was working, I'm an entrepreneur. I recently got married. And again, I'm a single mom. So I had all these things that I was juggling. And my friend just thought when I come up there, we're just going to have a good time and have fun. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, girl, I'm taking exams on my living room floor and trying to cook dinner. So I don't really have the time to dedicate to you. But
Yeah.
I had a conversation with my friend, like why we were going in different directions. difference because I was, again, school, work, an entrepreneur, a wife, a mom. And my friend was single where she could just, all she wants to do is go hang
Up,
out.
up
And
and go.
the most important thing for her was the next family barbecue or the next party or the next trip. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, girl, I got all these things that I'm trying to handle comparison to you not having those things to handle. But I granted her a conversation. I didn't
Yeah.
just stop talking to that person. We had a
Yeah.
conversation as to why our relationship was changing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Again, I always go back to you can't ghost people. It shows a lack of respect and it
Exactly.
shows that you did not care or you weren't as sincere as in that relationship as that other person was. If you don't have the respect or love for them to have a conversation as to why you're moving forward.
Exactly. And I want to sit there for a second because that is a huge thing that many people struggle with is communication. And
Mm,
people who don't know how to communicate think everything is an argument,
mm,
everything is a problem. And I know what the challenges are. I know
yeah.
that there are some things, childhood, you probably were not taught how to communicate. However, as adults, it's our responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
learn the things that our parents didn't teach us, give us ourselves the things that our parents didn't give us, because
Absolutely.
those things will go over and spill over into your relationships, and not just personal relationships. They'll spill over into your job and these other places as
Absolutely.
well if you don't know how to communicate. And
Mm-hmm.
communication is not a very challenging thing to have if you present it
Mm-hmm.
the right way. You don't go in a confrontational way. You don't go in this way and say, you did this and you didn't give me this. You don't
Mm-hmm.
do it that way. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, use a technique like I feel
Right.
or I felt this way, because it's not making that person feel like they're being blamed for everything, but it's sharing your feelings in hopes of this person taking accountability and apologizing, and they're making changes so that they no longer hurt you again.
Yeah.
However, if they do not respect that, then that's when you have to make a decision. What do I do now? Because I've had
Yeah.
this conversation, what are the next steps? So what do you think about that in terms of people struggling to communicate in best ways for folks to do so?
I think people are selective as it relates to communication. I feel like they're
That's a
selective.
good point.
Like if you can talk to me about your marriage, your children and everything, you can communicate. If you can sit and have a conversation, the basic principle of communication, it's there.
Yeah.
I feel like people communicate what they want to and how they want to communicate it.
Yeah. That is a
You
good
know what I'm
point.
saying? So,
Yeah.
but to your point, again, yes, we are taught different ways of communication. Some people are shut down as children. Some
Mm-hmm.
people weren't safe enough to have conversations with their parents or whatever. And again, because I come from a boomer parent, that's a silent generation.
Yeah.
So there was no talking back. You didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
opinion. You didn't
You
get
had
to
no
express
feelings.
yourself, no
Yeah.
feelings, no nothing.
Yeah.
And if you did, you took that in the room and you screamed in your pillow or talked that in your room. But you
Yeah. They
didn't
better
say
not
how
hear you either.
they didn't hear you. But but when you have that dynamic, it's different. But when you're in circles of friendships or relationships, you do communicate. It's just what
Yeah.
people choose what they want to communicate. And I go back to that same person who I consider a sister. We've never had any confrontation. This person has talked to me about everything. If you had an issue, because the black and white conversation is not a new conversation. Anytime we're in
Mm-hmm.
a circle and we're having debates or talking about politics, these conversations have come up before. But now all of a sudden, it's a problem because you have white people in your family. Because so what that makes me feel is now I feel unsafe with you.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
unsafe with you. I feel like I can no longer be free to communicate in the manner in which I'm accustomed of doing because I can't feel safe with you to have the
Mm-hmm.
real conversation without feeling like, is this person's feelings or oh, are they going to be offended because they have white friends and family? Like for me, I'm like, I don't care about that because
Yeah.
I'm a Black woman and you're a Black woman, and you should be just as concerned with these issues that I am concerned and expressing. And again,
Yeah.
it's not an opinion. This is factual information that I share that you can Google. So I
Mhm.
feel like people are very selective with their communication and how they communicate. And then not only that, I feel like a lot of people, they'll go have conversations about whatever issue they have with you before
With
they even
somebody
come to
else.
you.
Yeah.
Now, had she
Yeah.
just come to me, I would have been with probably could have had another conversation. But
Yeah.
after she talked to me and me finding out she had already had a conversation with someone else on the trip, trying to kind of stir things up, like, how did you
Mhm.
feel on the trip? Did you have a good time? Are you going to go on the
Mhm.
next trip? So that looks like you were trying to create an issue, not only just with me, but intersexuality,
Trying to get you an
intersexual
alliance
with
together.
other people. And then
Yeah.
what happened is I no longer talk to the other girl and her husband either. And they were very close to my husband and I. They had an access code to get in our home. We just removed it like a couple
Yeah.
months ago. This is how close these people were to us. But now, as a result of you and going being the villain and going stirring this drama up, now we don't speak. And they stopped talking to us
Because of her.
because of her. And we
Ain't
did
that
meet them
something?
through her, but they traveled with us. They've stayed in our
Yeah.
home. Again, they had a code to our home to get in and out when we're not here. And it's sad because that's another thing, how damaged relationships, they impact other relationships as well. When,
Mhm.
again, there's a lack of maturity.
Mhm. Let me ask you this: has she ever come to you before to have like a difficult conversation to let you know how a situation made her feel? Have you guys ever
Never,
had? Okay.
never, never. And we've been in each other. She's actually my husband's cousin. And
Mhm.
again, she was like a sister to me. And we have been in each other's lives for the last 18 years.
And that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have compassion for you, empathize, sympathize. I have all of it because I know how that feels to
Mm-hmm.
have someone that you have been so close to for all of these years, and then they go and they talk to everyone else but you.
Mm-hmm.
They find a reason not to basically just be around you, and that's just
Mm-hmm.
ultimately what it
That's
comes to.
ultimately what it comes down.
Whatever the issue is, it sounds like the issue is with her and not
It is.
you. And I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you later on, some point in the future, she's
Mm-hmm.
going to circle back and
Mm-hmm.
she's going to need something from you because that's
Yeah.
typically the way it works.
Do you find it interesting that we're never the ones that are on the needing side?
Good point. I've never even thought of that, but you are so right. We are not.
Mm-hmm. When you think about it and you think about, wait a minute, I was the person showing up for these people all the time.
Yeah.
They rarely showed up for me, if at all. So when those relationships are gone, you really have to think about, what am I mourning exactly? Am I mourning what's familiar? Or am
Mm-hmm.
I like, what am I mourning? Because this person didn't really show up for me. I never could call this person and get them on the phone when I wanted to talk or needed to talk. This person didn't answer text messages expeditiously like I
Mm-hmm.
do. So you have to really start to think, like, what am I missing exactly?
Nothing. When you
What
really
did
think
they
about it,
bring to the table
what did they
for
bring to
you
the
and me?
table for you? Yeah. And
Mhm.
and I think that the reason that we don't go to them or have to circle back is because we've learned how to be resilient. We already have the skills that they
Mhm.
reach out to us for. And I think that plays a huge part, a huge, huge part in that.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we're guilty of, because I know I went through this, was thinking about the good times. We do
Mhm.
that, even if it's a breakup from a relationship with a guy. You know, we think
Mhm.
about the good times and how things were, and that causes us to hold on a little bit longer than we need to. But
Yeah.
one of the things I've learned to do is create a pros and a cons list.
Mhm.
And sometimes you might have to journal that out You might have to have that in your head. And it's not like a tit for tat thing, but you
Yeah,
sometimes have to take inventory of your relationships, of your
that
friendships.
part, that part.
And when you see that cons list outweighs that pros,
Mm-hmm.
you need to ask yourself, okay, what decision do I need to make here?
That's crazy. Yeah. Roni, it's so crazy that we're having this conversation because I was friends with another young lady. We worked together, we became very close.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I relocated from Florida to Atlanta, and we were still close.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, like I want to say either right after I got married, she was engaged, I believe, and planning a wedding. And we would have conversations, and I would give her suggestions based on my experience. And then we just stopped talking. And I would reach out like, hey, just checking in, what's going on? Didn't hear anything. Stopped communicating. 13 years went by.
Wow.
She just saw me recently on the podcast. And she said, I saw this person. I saw the title and it was intriguing. And then I go and I listen and I'm like, wait a minute, this is Kendall. She sends me an email. We have this conversation exchange. And I said, hey, my number's still the same. Feel free to reach out. She's like, my number is this. We talked on the phone. Well, she talked on the phone for almost 3 hours. And she said something to me. She said, I have to take accountability for not having a conversation with you. Because I said the same thing to her. I said, I really don't know what happened and why we stopped talking. I said, but I don't have any ill will towards you. And she said, I didn't love myself enough, so I couldn't show up as a good friend. Which I was kind of
Mm.
like, okay, that's interesting. But then
Yeah.
she also proceeded to say, you look like you have it all together. And I'm saying this because of your resilience point. She said,
Mm-hmm.
you look like you have it all together. She said, and then what happens is women feel insecure around you and they're
Mm-hmm.
intimidated by you because you look good. Your house is nice. You can cook, like all these different things she listed out. And then she said, and then when they don't feel like they measure up, then it becomes an issue. So
Mm.
what she was telling me without saying directly is that's how she felt. She was speaking generally, and this isn't the first time I've heard this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just being me. You know my struggles because I'm very transparent. I don't put on facades for anybody. What you
Right.
see is what you get. And I'm like, I didn't have it all together. It's just that I've had to be resilient and keep it together. But that
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't make you feel any kind of way just because you may not have the resilience that I have. You haven't gone through what I've gone through to build that
Yeah.
resilience. And I just feel like it's sad and it's unfortunate that women cannot stay in relationships if they feel with other women, if they feel any slight bit of insecurity or they're lacking somewhere. And it's always been heartbreaking to me, even with women that
Yeah.
I feel like they have it all together. Like they got money, they're beautiful, they got this, they got that, and they still will be nasty or stop talking to me. And I just become at this big old age, I would rather eat a 5x7 rug before I shift who I am to accommodate anyone else because I know I come into relationships and sisterhood genuinely with
Yeah.
love, with loyalty. I'm happy for my friends. I'm celebrating them, even when I'm not in a space to be celebrated.
Yeah.
But it's just sad to me that we as women cannot value sisterhood in relationships because of our own insecurity. And
I
that's what it
agree.
was in our own immaturity.
Yeah. And in that, I'm thinking like that's kind of her to even admit I didn't
Mhm.
love myself. And if we don't love ourselves, it's
You
hard
can't
for
love
us
anybody
one
else.
to love anybody else. And we can't teach people how to love us because we don't know how to love us.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it also made me think about your strong friends, because people look and they see you got it together. So they're strong. I don't have to check in on her as much. And that's not necessarily true. As you guys see on social media, you see that post all the time. Check on your strong
Check
friends.
on your strong
Check on your
friends.
strong. Check
We are
on
not
us.
okay.
We
We
are
are
not.
not okay.
We have bad days just like everybody else. We
We are
got
not
stuff
okay.
going on. Just even if it's just a text. Hey, girl, I
Mhm.
just want to check on you, see how you
Yeah.
doing. You was on my mind. Just
Yeah.
do
Without
it,
wanting something from us.
without wanting something in return.
Just say,
Yeah,
hey, just checking
just say
in.
hey. That's
Yeah.
it. And that means so much. Just that little tidbit means so much more than anything else. Because
Absolutely.
when you look like you got it together, that's the first thing people assume. Oh, they strong. So when they're going through, I don't have to check in on them as often. No,
Well,
you
check
don't know
on
what
us.
we're dealing with on the inside. We might be
You're
breaking
not
on the
okay.
inside, but we're trying to keep ourselves together on the outside. We hurt too. We hurt.
God, yes. We hurt the most.
We hurt the most because we feel we're very emotional. When people like us, we're very emotional
Yeah. With
and
empaths.
empaths, and that's the word I'm looking for. And so check on us, because when you're an
Mhm.
empath, you can take on a lot. Even stuff
You
you be like,
do.
oh, I didn't
Yeah.
think I would take that on, but we take on a
Yeah.
lot. And we have to also be mindful of that ourselves. And again, that goes back to that accountability piece, is being mindful of what we're allowing ourselves to take on, because we're very,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We do. We'll try to take on everything because of the hearts that we
Mhm.
have. And we take things personal, even if it's not our business. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? We feel it. We want to fix it. We want to heal it, because empaths are often healers as well. We heal everybody else, even in our broken. And
Right.
people continue to take that, because we also attract takers, and we have to
Yeah.
remember that as well.
I want to shift a little bit. I love to bring people together. Like,
Yeah.
I love bringing people together. I love connecting with people, networking with folks, and building community. And even at this
Hmm.
point in my life, I've been like, okay, I want certain types of friendships, certain types of people in my circle. And another thing too is, y'all, don't be so quick to call everybody a friend, because I noticed
That
that
part.
some people can meet somebody and like, oh, we've been talking or
Yeah.
hanging
We
out
use
or
that
doing
term
this
way
for
too
like
loosely, too
too
quickly.
loosely. Yeah. And
Hmm.
to give somebody that title is a lot,
Hmm.
because it carries a lot of weight to call somebody a friend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm wondering, what do you think it takes to really develop new friendships at this point in life, once you get in midlife? And what do you think it
Mhm.
takes to just develop these new friendships? What are your thoughts
Oh,
on that?
wow. I don't even think you develop them. I think at this big age, the right people align themselves with you.
I like that. Yeah.
I don't think you're out seeking friendships
Yeah.
anymore, because you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I'm okay with me, and I'm okay with being my own friend. I did an episode. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do an episode, but I did a quick post, and I said, you have to become the person to you that you
Yes.
want in other people.
Yes.
So if I want great friends, I have to be a friend to myself. And that same love and everything that I pour into other people, I have to start pouring that into myself. So I feel like things are, at this age, with us being 40 and above, it's organic. So for me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not seeking out anything. If I'm in the presence of someone and that relationship align and it's organic, those are the ones that I'm willing to nurture now.
Yeah.
But I'm also very protective of my space now,
Me too.
because of the people and because of the hurt that I've experienced
Yes.
time
Same.
and time again with women that, like you said, I don't use the term sis, bro,
Oh, me
friend,
either.
best friend. I don't do that. And to that same friend that we hadn't spoken in 13 years, I used to tell her that years ago. Stop calling
Mm-hmm.
everybody your friend, because
Mm-hmm.
they're not. They haven't been tested or tried to become or have that title. And she was like, oh, but no, this person's my friend. And then A couple weeks later, girl, this person did X, Y, Z. I told you. So I don't think it's about developing. I just think it's what the Most High aligned at the stage in your life. And again, it goes back to being organic. I believe in organic relationship. If we gel, amazing, and we can continue. But I don't feel like at this big age of 40 that we should really be doing anything to develop. I feel like we should be nurturing relationships that are established, that are organic. But Roni, at this age, I'm not working to develop any type of relationship.
I feel you. I had to get closer to the mic on that. I feel
I'm not. I just don't have it. I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I was having this conversation with someone that I've actually been building a friendship with, and we've gone through some things in a short amount of time. And so I can call her this, and I think maybe past 3 years. But we were talking about this other person that was connected with us. And she was like, well, I just want to know. And I just want to ask, why is she just pulled away? I said, I don't. I said, I am not 16. I'm not 20. I said, I am like this close to 50, like inching, like just a few short years off of 50. I am not going to be chasing somebody down and ask them, why you not talking to me?
At all.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I said, if she wants to talk to me, she can. I am not doing that. I would rather, as you mentioned, nurture the people and the relationships that I currently have. And that's just what it is for me. Like, I don't care. And she's just like, I just like to know. I said, at some point, because I told her, I said, you just turned 40.
Yeah.
I said, so at some point, as you move through this, you are not going to, you are not going to care. So I said, and that's just what happens. I said, they say that you get in midlife and there are things that you used to care about that you no longer care about. I said, and that is so true.
I'm telling you.
You do not care. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah. So yeah, developing, no, I'm not interested in developing. I'm interested in nurturing and I'm gonna be completely honest, not even nurturing. I just feel like when things are organic, you don't have to develop, you don't have to nurture, they just flow. So I'm in the energy of going with the flow at this point.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's where I'm at.
I feel you.
That's where I'm at.
It's like, let me just enjoy the ride right now and whatever happens along this journey, this ride.
Yep.
And if it's in alignment with where I'm going, that's who can hop in the car with me and go.
That's where I am. That's where I am. And not hop in the car because I'm taking you with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because people want to be in the car because they see that you're elevating or they see you on a certain journey.
True that.
You're not in the car with me when I need gas money or when the engine light
when
is
that
on.
check engine light on,
Keep that same energy when you see me.
Gonna drop you off over here on the curb.
Absolutely. Because I'm the person that tries to take everyone with me.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want everybody to win.
I want everybody to win, even in my journals. And my journals are not just me trying to manifest things for myself or making affirmations for me. It's for when I get this, I'm going to do this and this person. And thank you for, I'm always thinking about other people.
Everybody else. And now it's time for somebody to really start thinking about you. Yeah.
It's time for me.
I feel it. You to think about you and then want other people to think about me that same way. That I do say, yeah, I get it.
Absolutely.
I get it. But for those of you who do say, well, I do want, to make friends because I get it, moving to new cities and things like that.
True.
There are plenty of groups out here. I know Facebook has tons of groups. And I see women doing this a lot. They'll go in and they'll say, hey, anybody want to meet up for coffee or meet up for this? They call it shooting your friend shot. And so if that is one of the things that you like to do, I would, suggest doing, especially when you move to a new city or something.
That's true.
Yeah, those are some things that you can do. But as we begin to wrap up here today,
I feel like this is a conversation that can go on and on and
It
on. There's so much
can.
to unpack when it comes to
It
friendship.
is. And I'm just trying to respect the time because, listen, I am enjoying this conversation. It is so much to unpack. Maybe we need to do a part 2 or something and dive a little bit deeper
True, or
on some of
alive,
those
or
things.
alive.
Or a live. I love that. Let's do a live.
Yeah.
Any last words, any words of advice for those who are saying, you know what? I've gone through the same thing. I am still struggling to move forward and even struggling to really trust because it will bring a level of
It was.
distrust there for when you
Yeah.
start to meet other people. It's like, why are you here? Are
Yeah.
you going to do the same thing? Any advice for those people?
Pray for a spirit of discernment when you come into contact with people, when these people are trying to attach themselves to you. Pay attention to people who really try to attach themselves to you very, very quickly. Because, like, it's to your point, when you get hurt so many times in these sisterhoods and these friendships, you do become jaded and you do become a little bit more on guard, or your wall is a little bit up. You just pay attention. But I think always pray that the Most High, whoever you believe in, aligns you with the right people.
With the right
That He
people.
also only brings people into your life that will reciprocate the type of person that you are. Because that's very important. If you can find relationships where what you put out is reciprocated to you, that alone will be of ease. And then I think you also have to make sure you're praying for mature relationships.
Yes.
Because that person that I spoke of, they're younger than me. They're in their late 30s or whatever. And then I also had to think, like, you literally are probably like 3 to 4 years older than my oldest child. And I'm not friends with him. He's my child.
Yeah.
I'm not friends with him. And I see his level of maturity, right? Or immaturity or whatever. I just think you have to just make sure you're protecting your energy, that you're using discernment, that you're also praying about these relationships, even from a revelation perspective. Pray that God reveals to you who's not there, because he hears and sees things that we don't. And like we said earlier when we started, make sure when you pray for this divine alignment, make sure you pray when you say, God, remove anybody that's not for me. Be prepared.
Be ready.
Be some people that remove them or leave you, or you no longer are friends with, that you thought would always be
there.
So be prepared. Be prepared for that. So that's the advice that I would give. And then last point, be the person to yourself that you want to see in others.
Yes.
That's number one.
Yes.
That's number one. Know your value and love yourself. Because
Be
loving
your own best
valuing
friend.
yourself is two totally different things.
It
right?
is.
So
Be your own best friend, because that will really set the stage for those other friendships and relationships that you really want to have in your life.
yeah,
And a lot of times we don't know, again, because we don't know what we want because we don't do it for ourselves.
very true.
But I agree with everything you said, praying for discernment. Who are these people? For me, one of the things I always ask is, God, show me their heart. I really want to know that and see that, because when people are stressed out, you can see a different side of them.
Yeah.
Like in your situation, you're going on a vacation with somebody, you can see a different side of them. So definitely pray about that. And then another thing is, as we mentioned earlier, don't call everybody your friend. Like that holds a lot of weight. But also spend some time nurturing the relationships that you currently have. The relationship with yourself and then relationships with the folks that you currently have. And I know we didn't dive really into that. And so Kendall and I, maybe we'll talk about doing a live and we can just talk about how to really nurture these current relationships that you have a little bit more. And because you might feel like, you know what, I don't want anybody else around. I like this space that I'm in. I like my small group of 3 or 4 friends or one friend or whoever. And that is okay with me. Anybody else who comes along, they will just be an associate, and that is totally fine. But definitely pray for discernment, pray for God to whoever, again, you pray to, so that you can know somebody's heart, their heart and their true intentions, because God hears conversations that people are having about you in rooms that you are not even sitting in. And I am a firm believer, if somebody will go to someone else or even come to you and talk about somebody else to you, they will go and talk about you to somebody else. So be mindful about that.
I say that all the time.
But that is, I guess, it for this conversation. I'm just going to call it part 1 because, baby, we can keep talking. Do you hear me? I love this. I appreciate you being here today
Thank you
to have this conversation. And you all, please check out Moms with True Tea podcast. I promise you will leave with something, or you'll be walking down the street like me in the mornings and like throwing your hands up in the air like, yeah, girl, that is so true. But yeah, it's an amazing podcast, and
thank you.
You guys, please join, follow, even on social media. I know she's on Instagram as well. Connect with her there, and I'll also post her information in the show notes. All right, y'all. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Thank you again for being here, and hopefully we might see y'all online soon. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.
That's a wrap for this episode of Navigating Life After 40. I hope you enjoyed this conversation just as much as I did. If you love what you're hearing, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps me to reach more amazing women like yourself who are trying to navigate this amazing life. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep living your best life.